This is the Astrolab, and it's a game changer for Arturia. It's a stage keyboard from a company famous for making software synths and pianos. And now they've put those virtual synths and pianos inside this keyboard for you to take anywhere without a computer. In this video, I'll take you through the features, the sounds, the mobile app, how you can use it, and what makes the Astrolab so unique. I'll even talk about some pros and cons. Here's why the Astrolab is a big deal. Arturia, like Native Instruments and other keyboard companies, have made virtual instruments and given us keyboards to control those virtual instruments. MIDI controllers. Arturia is well known for their Keylabs and Minilab MIDI controllers, but now they've put their computer software inside this keyboard. Check it out. This is Arturia's Juno software synth. And here's the Yamaha DX7. And that's the Mini Moog. This is the CS80. Even pigments. So you don't have full hands-on control of every synth parameter on this screen. There are some limitations, but honestly, they've made something here that can take you from sound designing in your studio to the stage pretty seamlessly. And that is a practical use case for producers and performers. If you've got ideas on how you'd use it, comment below. I'll share a couple more use cases Arturia thought of in a sec. Arturia sent me the Astrolab to try out, but they don't have any say in what I'm sharing with you in this video. If you're interested in the Astrolab or any of the other keyboards I talk about in this video, you can find links to them below. All right, check it out. I've loaded this preset, Firefly Pad. You'll find this preset in Arturia's software Analog Lab on your computer. Many of you already own Analog Lab. There's even a free version of it if you're unfamiliar. This preset sounds exactly the same way it does in their virtual instrument. In this case, the preset uses the Arturia DX7, their emulation of Yamaha's famous vintage keyboard. And on the screen, you'll see a little depiction of the DX7, and you even have some knobs to modify the sound a bit. More on these knobs later. Scrolling through the presets here, I see lots of other familiar Arturia virtual synths and even pigments. And they've even included some sounds from their newer augmented series of instruments. So not just vintage synths in here. You've got pianos, electric pianos, all the familiar Arturia stuff. And it all works right inside the Astrolab. No computer necessary. I want to show you all of the controls here, but before I do, if you're new around here, I'm SanjayC. I have lots of videos about music production and the latest music gear. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. So how did they accomplish this? How did they take their software Analog Lab and make it work standalone in this keyboard? Well, I asked, and they told me that the Astrolab is actually running a special version of the Analog Lab software on Linux inside this keyboard. And they had to do it that way so that the sound translates exactly the way you hear it in their virtual instrument on your computer and on the Astrolab when you're playing it standalone. So How could you use the Astrolab? Well, imagine you've created a number of sounds for a song you've recorded. Maybe you've even carefully sound designed them with one of Arturia's virtual synths. Check it out. I created this new sound using Arturia's Jupiter synth, my own settings created with their plugin on my computer. I saved it as a preset in Analog Lab on the computer, and now that same sound can be saved as a preset into the Astrolab. Now, when I detach it from my computer, I can take it on the road. You can even set up set lists or playlists of your presets so you've got everything ready for your performance, the same way it sounded in your recorded studio track. So this unique sound I created is now in my studio, on my recorded track, and on the road, standalone, in the Astrolab. So what if you're not a stage performer? Well, Arturia put forward another use case in the studio. The Astrolab gives you a zero latency way to monitor what you play while mirroring the exact same thing in Analog Lab on your computer. So you can record MIDI while hearing the sound of the instrument with no delay. That's kind of useful. All right, let's take a quick look around at all the controls and features built in. First, this full color screen and scroll wheel. You'll use this to browse presets. They preloaded 1000 sounds, pianos, organs, synths, string machines, lots of stuff. And there are more than 7,000 more sounds you can get through the Analog Lab software and the Arturia store. And of course, you can create your own custom sound like I showed you before. So this wheel turns and clicks in. You'll use this to browse and select presets mostly, but it also functions as a way to edit effects, create playlists, and get into the settings menu as well. Presets can be browsed by simply scrolling, they load automatically, or you can browse by sound type or instrument types. The buttons below the wheel are used in tandem with the wheel to navigate. You can also use the arrow buttons to quickly cycle through previous preset and next preset. The screen looks vibrant and clear. It's pretty small. It doesn't give you much visible feedback. There's just not that much space for it. You can see the parameters you're adjusting with the knobs and that very small representation of the instrument you've chosen. The screen looks so good, it honestly makes me want to touch it, zoom in, and try to adjust the little parameters in there, but you can't. It's not a touch screen, unfortunately. It would have been nice in a dream scenario, but with how detailed some of these virtual instruments are, this may have just detracted from the usability. Still, I would love to see a touch screen on a future Arturia keyboard. On the left side, you've got octave and transpose, up and down, and pitch and mod wheels. There's a nice visual mod wheel indicator light here as well. As we move to the right, you've got ARP and chord buttons, play and record buttons for recording a MIDI loop. You've got part buttons for layering and splitting here, and below that, a quick way to filter by sound types. And then you've got instrument macro control knobs. These control multiple parameters to modify the sound of the preset. This mimics what you've seen on Analog Lab in the software. You've got brightness, timbre, time, and movement, and some secondary parameters as well for volume, bass, mid, and treble. And to the right of that, you've got effects encoders. The first two are fully assignable, and the last two are dedicated to delay and reverb. You can turn them on and off using the buttons below, and a long press will let you edit the effect or choose a preset. On the far right is your master volume control. Now, the key bed is important to me. The Astrolab has 61 semi-weighted keys with velocity and aftertouch. Arturia makes nice key beds, and this is no different. These are not fully weighted hammer action, but still good. You can layer sounds or split them as well, and the light guides will show you your split point. There are lots of presets built in that already make use of this feature. The LEDs above the key bed show you things like split points and notes that are playing with the arp. So there are lots more features on the Astrolab: the looper, arpeggiator, scale and chord, and a mobile app. I'll get to everything, but before I do, if you're writing songs and producing music at home, you should share them with the world. It's super easy to get your music out there using DistroKid, the sponsor of today's video. DistroKid lets you upload your music to Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Pandora, pretty much everywhere. Best of all, they make it really easy. Just upload your track, add some artwork, and they do the rest. DistroKid also collects earnings for you when your listener plays or purchases your music. And they help you market your music with tools built right in. A hyperfollow page lets you share your latest music with your friends on Facebook or anywhere you can share a link. And they can easily follow you to get notified of your upcoming releases. I've actually created 2 dedicated videos on DistroKid to give you all the details about how it works. You can watch those videos right here. And if you're ready to sign up, I'll include a link in the video description that'll give you 7% off your first year of membership. You're probably familiar by now with ARP, chord, and scale modes. ARP has a bunch of options that you can get to by long pressing the ARP button. For chords, you can choose a root note and set a scale type. And you can record in a chord as well. The looper is pretty fun. Press the record button and play something. Press the play button and it plays exactly what you recorded. Long press the record button for some looper settings. You can't layer multiple tracks of playing on this though. So check it out. While the Astrolab is standalone, it's also got Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and USB-C. So what do those do? Well, it gets interesting. The simple one, USB-C, lets you connect your computer to use this as a MIDI controller, and of course, transfer presets and playlists to and from the Astrolab. You can also use USB-C to connect to a tablet or smartphone. Now this also has Wi-Fi built in, so you can connect to your computer or mobile device using Wi-Fi as well, and it acts as a hotspot in case there's no Wi-Fi network available. This really comes in handy with the Astrolab mobile app I'll show you in a sec. Now there is also Bluetooth. With Bluetooth, you can stream audio from a mobile device or your computer to the Astrolab to play along with it. Okay, so how about that mobile app? Well, it's pretty simple at the time of this video. You can use it to easily look for presets, create playlists. It's just a bit more easy to navigate using a mobile device interface compared to the encoder wheel. A nice option to have if you need a speedy way to find stuff. If you're on stage, this is probably a faster way to load up presets, audition sounds, and navigate your playlists. I think this is a nice addition, and I hope Arturia continues to develop this app further. Maybe they can give us some sound design tools on it. So what's on the back? Well, you've got power, the USB-C connector, and check this out. This is a USB-A connector to add a storage device or control the Astrolab with a MIDI controller. Next, you have headphone and audio outs, audio inputs for use with a mic, line, or instruments, And then you've got some pedal ports and MIDI ins and outs. The build quality of the Astrolab is very high. It's on par with the quality of Arturia's premium synths and the Keylab 88 if you've experienced any of those. This looks and feels like real wood on the sides, but I couldn't really tell that it's actually not wood. The knobs have good tension and feel. The large encoder has an audible and feelable click as you turn it. The buttons do have a loud clicky noise, which I don't like, but some of you prefer. So, what about the competition? Remember, this is a stage keyboard, so you'd probably think of Nord keyboards or the Mod X by Yamaha as competitors. The Astrolab is $1,600, which is comparable to some popular stage keyboards out there. Most of them at this price will give you lots of high quality sounds, features like ARP, keyboard splits, and knobs and faders to modify sounds. There are keyboards out there like Nord's that provide more hands-on control directly on the keyboards. And there are some keyboards like the Yamaha Mod X, which will give you a larger screen with touch capability. I think what Arturia provides is a studio to stage workflow that is truly unique. They built a great reputation with their computer software instruments and have now made those same sounds transferable to a stage keyboard. So building sounds and songs on your computer and then transferring them to stage is now easier. Where I wish Arturia had offered more is in hands-on control. Their software instruments have so much detail for sound design, and at times I feel like the limited controls on the Astrolab fall short of what Arturia does so well with their software instruments. Even the addition of some faders that mimic what we're used to seeing in Analog Lab would have been really nice. And imagine a touch screen. Of course, adding more controls and a touch screen would have made the Astrolab more complex and expensive. But wow, I can wish, right? Now, there are some other companies making standalone music devices these days. Native Instruments and Ableton have released the Machine Plus and Push 3 with built-in software that pretty much runs some of their plugins on those drum pad-centric devices. Akai has their MPC key with a full beat-making workflow and some plugins made for MPC built in. But the Astrolab by Arturia is different. They've really built this with studio plugin to stage performance in mind. That's what it's made to do and nothing else. So this is not meant to be a MIDI controller. You can't use it to control your DAW, your transport or mixer. That's not what it's for. It's also not a workstation keyboard. You're not going to be recording multi-tracks on this. If you're interested in learning more about the Arturia Astrolab or any of the instruments I've mentioned in this video, you can find links to them below. And if you want to check out my other keyboard comparison videos, watch them right here. Keep making the music you love, and I'll see you in the next one.